Hey everybody, welcome back. Kanan here once again with another review, and this time it's for Koei and the 5 Pirates of Mara. Yes, easy for you to say. And this one's a bit of a cute platform adventure game, but don't be fooled, it is actually harder than it looks. And with that, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons to be kept up to date with all my latest content. And let's look at doing this review, shall we? Let's go! If you're looking for a story here, well basically the island has been ransacked by pirates and you have been called up to enter a grueling competition of agility, wit, and from what I've played, some luck to gain the villagers' items back and restore the town to its former glory. And that's sort of the story and pretty well as much as I'd like to go into here. Okay, so first, and you know exactly who you are, hello. You cannot, or at least I cannot find a way how to invert X and Y, which is a bit of a shame. Although there is a speedrunner timer that you can actually put on, so you can speedrun levels. Okay, so let's take a look at the actual main body of the game. If you take out the story, then it leaves you with this big map that's basically clouded over with clouds or fog. And you are tasked with going from area to area, finding different parts of the map and then taking them to someone and getting them to unlock or unsmoke or fog or cloud or whatever the hell it is, so that you can go into these new areas and task yourself with getting another piece of the map. But don't worry, please remember the reason why we're doing this. And with that, let's take a look at the bit that you've all been waiting for. The controls are pretty basic: move, run, jump, slam, throw and objects, and this does actually get used here and there, and that's mainly, as you can imagine, to unlock and lock things. All the levels are timed, so you can actually gain like a bronze, gold, silver award for doing them, and most levels have like a special thing for you to collect as well as collecting shells, which you can basically use to buy merch back at the island, the main island, or your central hub as we may call it. Travelling around apart from on land, you also have a ship which you can actually upgrade, and again you can upgrade this by collecting certain items and taking it back to someone and they'll upgrade your ship for you, which again does come in handy. The main movement in the ship is basically just moving left, right and bashing into things at its basic, and it does get slightly more complicated when you upgrade them. The ship is used mainly to get you from island to island so that you can take on these different tasks and find those bits of map. And this is where the game gets slightly more complicated. At times each area has multiple islands on them, and on occasions you have to do something on the other islands to get to the main island. And at this point, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons if you're still with me and enjoying this video. Go ahead, do it, it really does help the channel. And as I was saying, these islands are, well, they're kind of different to each other, but they all consist of different traps and the like. And trust me, if you like to get your Indiana Jones on, this will probably do it for you. There are plenty, and I mean plenty of different modes here. You're not just trying to like get from A to B in a linear way. There are different routes that you can sometimes take, but not always. There are races, there are climbs to the top of mountains, there's mad dashes down mountains, there's little water levels, and there's so much to actually avoid in this game. And I have to admit, going into it, I thought this was probably a kid's game, and my daughter, who's 9 years old, did enjoy playing it, but did struggle at some points. In fact, I struggled at some points, as the controls were done well enough, but there were certain points where either the environment would get in your way, and it almost felt like the pixels weren't quite right to where they should be, or on certain levels or islands you're climbing to the top of these structures. The problem is, some of them have like platforms that disappear underneath you, and if not timed right, or spikes that come out, you could drop, which isn't really a problem for me, really. It's just the fact that sometimes you would drop in these areas that you'd basically have to go round the area in order to get back to the start, but sometimes there's no real way of getting around easily, and it becomes really awkward. And considering there's only water surrounding the actual area in these areas, it started becoming a hassle. Now, where there are checkpoints points in some of these islands, or on some of these islands, I couldn't find like a reset button, and this could have actually come in handy for these parts so that there weren't much of a hassle. And unfortunately this really would have made a big difference, because it really started to grind on me after a while. But to be honest with you, them two are mainly the negatives I have about the game. It's not a bad game, it's pretty solid in its platforming. There's always something to do, something to collect, something to move around, to avoid. All those bits that you like about platforming are here. And it's even got kind of boss battles as well, which take different forms depending on who you're actually boss battling against. Although sometimes to call them a boss battle is kind of misleading. It's more of a race against them, or race against them throwing things at you or the like. I would say that the game does get a little bit samey the further on you go into it, but they do a pretty good job of trying to keep it fresh the further and further you go. The storyline is actually quite funny at times, and while it didn't keep my interest peaked all the time, it was nice to know it was there in the background doing its thing. As for them visuals, I actually quite like them. They were bright, they were cheery, and yes, I know they're kind of cartoony, and that's what kind of made me think it was more of a kids game, but the further and further you go in, that kind of washes away after a while. And to be honest with you, it was all pleasing to the eye, and I did appreciate these little touches that they had here and there within the game. Like if you left the character long enough, she would start doing stretches and the like. Sound wise, probably the weakest part of the game. The music was okay, I kind of turned it down a bit, and the actual main animation sounds and all that lot were again okay. They served a purpose, they did what you probably expect. It just seemed like there was nothing above and beyond. And now with all that, I think it's time to move on to the score. In short, Koa is a fun little platformer which I actually enjoyed. My daughter enjoyed it as well, but found it a little bit taxing at times. I found on the most part there was always something to do, or indeed something to unlock. There's definitely plenty of platforming here to be done if you're into platformers. If you're not, maybe this isn't the right game for you, but thanks for coming and watching the review anyway. Also, if you're into speedrunning, there is a button that you can activate, as I mentioned at the beginning, to make it into a speedrunner's delight. And although I'm not really a speedrunner myself, I did still have lots of fun with this game, which is why I'll be awarding it a 7 out of 10. It's quite an enjoyable game, there's no two ways about it, and I think people that like platformers will probably enjoy it as well. I didn't really encounter too many problems, and I think there's definitely something in here for the younger and older players alike. And if you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it for you, then hit them like and subscribe buttons. Leave a comment down below on any thoughts you may have upon this game. And come join us in our community Discord. The link is down below. Take care of yourselves wherever you are, because life is better when we game together.